very warm welcome on this symposium, Interreg Europe Symposium, Island of Innovation. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jan Wibier, and I'm your host this afternoon. Normally that's an honorable task, but I said already we have this afternoon and we have that scheduled, so it will be a big task to come to an end this afternoon. But with your help, it will succeed, of course. Welcome on behalf also on the province of Fryslan, and a very special welcome, of course, to our partners in the program. Denmark, Samso, Portugal, the Azores, and Madeira, and especially I would welcome Mr. Pedro Faria Castro from the Azores. You hear him in the afternoon. Estland, Saramo, and I have to apologize our friends from Greece. They are not here, but of course we will inform them about the results of this evening. Dear friends, this afternoon, Island of Innovation is the subject, and we will look after it in several ways. It's, of course, in the first place, a moment of little bit celebration, because we achieved a lot of goals within the program Island of Innovation. But if you all know, standing still is going backwards, so we have to go on with the program, and we will go on with the program. And I said already in the afternoon we will hear from Mr. De Fario from the Azores how we go on with the program. To go on with this program, we invited several speakers this afternoon. Therefore, we hope to get new inspiration, new ideas, new unconventional solutions, so we can make that next steps in the program. I said already, we have a very tight schedule, so I will ask friendly but urgently to the speakers to look at the time. We have 20 minutes for each speaker, and at the end of the afternoon we have also some extras, I would say. Of course, I said celebration, the results from the program. We have an other way of celebration, I would say, but that is for the evening reserved, because we celebrate more or less the retirement of our friend Simon Thijsma. Celebrate more or less, I say, between marks. I don't know if we don't see him again after this evening, after this afternoon. I like to start with the program, so I like to invite the first speaker, and that is Sander Bos from the province of Friesland, and he will take us flying over the Blue Delta. Sander, I give you the floor.
Thank you. Thank you for this introduction, and thank you for being here. Actually, I must say this is really a nice occasion for me as well, in the first almost in 2 years to be standing in front of a crowd. So that's something different than talking in front of screens. So hope everything goes fine, but we will see. My name is Sander Bos. I work for the province of Fryslan in the Department of European Affairs and Economic Affairs. And also I work for the Northern Netherlands together with my colleagues in Groningen and Drenthe on the Regional Research and Innovation Agenda, the RIS3, so to say. But I'm here actually to tell you about a story, a story about my journey. I want to tell you something about a journey, how I ended up actually here on this stage. And this journey starts in 2014 in La Habana in Cuba. And I first, of course, have to admit that maybe Cuba is not directly the lightning example of an island of innovation. But nevertheless, my journey starts here, and I think from this journey onwards, there are some important lessons which I learned myself. I try to make it quite a personal story on how to act in the field of innovation and how you can act yourself. Some personal lessons. But first, the story. It's 2014, and I'm walking with my close friend on the streets of La Habana, and we had quite an amazing journey. We had a journey for the last 5 or 6 months, trailing Che Guevara. Maybe you know his book, El Diario de Motocicleta, or The Motorcycle Diaries, and actually we did quite the same with the two of us. And we had a burning ambition. We had big beards, we were quite idealists, and we had a burning ambition to take on the world. But actually, when we were there in La Habana and discussing and reflecting about what we are doing, I discovered something for myself. I discovered something which was quite personal. I discovered what it meant to be home. It wasn't that I felt homesick, but for the first time I felt that I wanted to connect more to the area where I'm from, to discover where my soil lies, and actually to act local. This is, of course, a well-known phrasing, but for me, personally, it was really true. I wanted still to think global, but I wanted to act more local. So where is this local for me? It's in this area. And probably some of you might know this picture. We call it here in the north the Blue Delta. And actually this is where my soil lies. And I first saw this picture, I think, 3 years ago, and it directly struck me. For me, it's not only a picture, it's more a piece of art. And I think like all other pieces of art, everyone can give their own interpretation of it. And I'd like you to just imagine yourself to be in this International Space Station, because this is where the picture is taken from the International Space Station. And just hold and think for 5 seconds, what are the first images when come to mind when you see this picture? Well, what do I see? Of course, I had a bit more time than 5 seconds to think about it before. It's here right on this paper. So let me elaborate a bit on what do I see when I look at this picture. First of all, of course, I see the islands quite close there, the islands of innovation, which this seminar, of course, is about. But what do I see more? Well, what I don't see borders or anything. It's just an area connected with a lot of different other regions across Europe. Furthermore, I see peace and tranquility, and I see space. We are literally in space when we see this picture. And for me, it gives the space for myself to think a bit more about the bigger picture, not to be locked in by the day-to-day business, but to zoom out a bit. And last but not least, I see also a rather vulnerable piece of land, a piece of land which doesn't escape global transitions or global challenges which we are all facing. And I named just but one of them, or some of them. For example, challenges in the field of climate change, in the field of circularity, in the field of health, in the field of the digital transformation. And I do not mention, of course, these transitions just by accident or just out of the blue, so to say, for this Blue Delta. Because these are literally the challenges which we have been named in the new RIS3 of the Northern Netherlands, which I said I work together with my colleagues on developing and implementing the RIS3 for the Northern Netherlands. And the RIS stands for the Research and Innovation Agenda for Smart Specialization. And it forms, as you might know, the basis for the deployment of European funding for the coming years. The core of this RIS3 is not so on the what or on actually putting goals to these transitions. So we don't say in this RIS3 that we want to be circular in 2030 or that we want to change the complete ecosystem in terms of the climate agenda. It is more about the how question. And from this how question, we got a lot of inspiration from the so-called mission-oriented innovation, or the mission-oriented research and innovation policy, which was stated by Mariana Mazzucato And I first discovered the work of Mazzucato, I think it was in 2018. And it was directly quite inspired by it, because it forms a new role for the public sector. I think a new role for everyone in the ecosystem to get together around a common story, around a common myth maybe, or around a common mission, and put all resources together to challenge these missions, or to accomplish these missions better, so to say. So how do we implement this mission-oriented innovation policy here in the Northern Netherlands? I'd like to talk a bit about this picture. Actually, this picture is in the RIS3, and the citation of it is actually the work being done within the Islands of Innovation project. First of all, we try to define a strategy on different levels, on the so-called macro, meso, and micro level. On the macro level, it's about setting the common goals, or setting this common ambition, and get everyone together to share this common ambition. And I believe for us in the Northern Netherlands, the mission towards achieving broad prosperity is quite at the core of that. Secondly, on the more meso level, it's about implementing the right conditions for innovation to arise, to sprout. And this is actually, of course, the core element of what we call smart specialization and employing the right instruments. But it doesn't stop, of course, at preconditions. In the end, it's about building projects, building new projects, and try to build new projects, experiment, and do. So this is what is being called the developing this portfolio of projects, actually, which are all under the same umbrella which is stated in the upper mission. But as said, in the RIS3, the focus is not so much on the what question, on what do we want to achieve. It's more on the how question. How do we want to achieve innovation and solutions for these grand challenges, for these missions in the Northern Netherlands? And the core word is there, the innovation ecosystem. We want the innovation ecosystem to be more coherent, more inclusive, more open, and more transparent, with short lines between all the stakeholders. And this means literally all stakeholders. We believe that everyone in this ecosystem holds a puzzle to form together the larger puzzle, or the larger mission, so to say. And this means as well individuals, non-governmental organizations, the public sector, but also in terms of geography. It means large cities, it means smaller villages, but it also means, again, these islands of innovation. Because this is what we think is crucial, and we use a metaphor for that, and probably this metaphor comes back today more often, maybe more in sometimes in a more literal way when we open the dance floor. But this really is what it's about. It's about creating a dance floor and getting people to dance on this dance floor, getting people to dance maybe in new combinations, in unexpected combinations. And it's about thinking what preconditions do we need to people actually do that, to create, well, a swinging dance floor? I don't know, but just a good dance floor. Let's call it like that. And let me, at this moment, pause a little bit, because I started this story telling about Cuba and telling about my own personal story. So I now just explained about what we are doing in the Northern Netherlands, but I want to make it a bit personal again, because when I was on Cuba, I was, of course, not thinking about RIS3 or innovation ecosystems. It was on a more personal level. And I want to share some lessons now for me, which I learned over the last couple of years, to actually think global but act local. How do I dance, so to say, on this dance floor? What role can I play myself? And what is my own contribution to the innovation ecosystem? And on a personal note, I received a lesson from a person here in the audience to sometimes write down your experience, which you encounter in your professional career. So I dived a bit into my archives and just wanted to pick some of these lessons and share them here with you. Okay, here we go. The first lesson It's called look through someone else's glasses. It's quite a literal, of course, translation of a Dutch saying, but it means, for me, that you, of course, do not dance alone on a dance floor. You always have to find a partner, and you need to understand your partner in order to dance together. So always you have to think about what is in the interest of the other to actually be able to dance together. You have to understand each other. On a more macro level, I encountered this when we developed, for example, the new policy for European affairs in the province of Fryslan. And one of the, major silver linings in this whole policy is actually on the title page, is a quote or a citation. Do not ask what Europe can do for us, but what we can do for Europe. And this is, I think, an important citation to understand how to act on this dance floor. You can use it on a personal level, but you can also use it on a more organizational level. On a more personal level, I try to implement this and try to do this by literally try to be in the other's position. Over the last 2 years, this was quite difficult because we are all working from home, of course. But before that, I try to be as much as I can outside of the provincial house, to be in the other organization, to actually get a desk in the other organization, to learn and experience what is in the interest of the other. So you can understand each other, and in the end, you can more easy dance together. Second one, maybe quite familiar to some of you here as well, but I think this is a really important one for me. It's called "A flying crow always catches something." For me, this is actually the lesson why I ended up here on this stage. It means for me that you have to say yes as much as possible to questions, requests, assignments, without knowing exactly what the end goal of it is beforehand, or without knowing exactly what the intention is. In this way, your path, my path, from Cuba to here, is not linear. It's a path full of different pathways, and it gives you room to discover interesting side paths, to get new experiences. We also call it, you have to create serendipity, and this word serendipity stands for me for the same thing. Third one is do, learn, and tell. This is actually a phrase which we put in quite a lot of policy letters or policy statements over the couple of years. But it's also something which I try to implement on a more personal level. For me, I studied international relations, so I have a scientific background, scientific education. And when I started in my professional career, this shaped me a bit to first start with asking the right questions, do research, do thorough research, and only after that start with actions. And I think also in the government or in where I work, we're also rather good in thinking first quite very long about what we do, thinking about all the risks, and only then choose, and then put theory into practice. But in the recent years, I think we've learned to try to turn this around a bit. Get down to work first, experiment, and be proud of making mistakes. Be proud of them and tell about them, because from that only you learn. And then the last lesson. This is personally for me the most difficult lesson to implement, actually. It's really important. It's about creating mental space in order to think big. We, or make it personal, me, myself, I can fill my whole week with actions on a micro level, doing small tasks, avoiding problems, checking my mailbox maybe, or just all these micro things. And this leaves me no space to zoom out and look at this bigger picture, to find common solutions, to get together. And this is something I think is really important for me, but I think for a lot of people, I hear it a lot when I talk to friends, but also to colleagues, that we don't have enough of this mental space and time to really think and reflect and get together. And I wish everyone enough time and space to do that for the future, in order to think together and to connect together. Because this was the mental space which I had back in Havana in 2014. Actually, the mental space and time to think and dream big. From there on, my journey started, the journey which ended up after a lot of serendipity and by dancing with a lot of interesting people and saying yes to a lot of different things, to me here being on this stage. On my journey, I did quite a lot. I learned a lot about that, and hopefully you now saw that I like to tell about it as well a bit. So yeah, a flying crow always catches something. I wish you a very good seminar, and I would like to thank you.
Sander, my introduction was very, very short, and Sander had a very enthusiastic contribution. So we have a time for a question for him, if anybody want to ask him something. Nobody?
Why not? You said be proud on your mistakes. What was your biggest mistake?
Well, actually, this is at the same stage I told these mistakes, and I won 100 euros with it at a fuck-up night. So I'm going to tell the same story. And the person sitting next to you knows this story probably. So this is one of my biggest failures. I started my career in the Northern Netherlands Alliance, in the SNN, working in the International Affairs Department, and we had a really big delegation of people from Russia coming in. And it was my job as an intern to organize a week full of events, discussions, and debates for a group of the Russian Youth Parliament, so to say. So I came into contact with the European Studies Department here, with the Thorbecke Academy, and we had developed a very big program with discussions and debates about some political questions, which was rather tense because of the political situation. But it was really something which we looked forward to. Only there was one thing I forgot before. I picked up this Russian delegation, youth delegation at the airport, and my first question was if they had a nice flight, talking about flying over the Blue Delta.
Yeah.
And there was no answer. They only looked at me like, what do you mean? We don't speak any English. So the one thing I forgot is what to arrange an interpreter for this whole week. So the program was a bit more, something else than we expected beforehand. So this was my big failure. But the one lesson from that, maybe it's for today as well, because during the day, the program was a bit dull. There were not a lot of discussions. But in the evening, people got on the dance floor and took something to drink. And in the end, it was about 11 p.m.
Yeah.
The Russians spoke English, so they could do it. Yeah. But it needed some, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Sander.
Okay. Yeah.
But we don't have any Russians in the room, I think. I didn't met them until now, so. Eileen, may I ask you?
Yes, of course. Thank you.
I see you have a very, out of the program, but I see you have a very nice jacket. Where is it made from?
Shall I check? Have a look. What is it? I don't have my glasses on. Could you read it for me,
Could
please?
you read it? Oh, 100% linen.
Okay, and yours? What's that?
I don't know. I don't know. It's from the HEMA, I think.
It doesn't have a label.
Okay, it's not labeled.
Perhaps here? No.
Okay. I put it out or not? No?
No, it's
Okay.
warm.
Be my guest.
And Jan Willem, what is your jacket made of? Do you know?
Wool.
It's wool. 100%. Okay, great. And Cheert, yours? What is your jacket made of? Do you have an idea? Don't have a clue. Yeah, I have it here because it's. No, not. You don't know. Does anybody know what the material is made of that you're wearing? Yeah, you do?
Yeah, I know it's an organic brand.
Okay. What is it?
I think it's cotton.
It looks like tencel. I was watching it just now. I thought, hey, so. Because most of us really don't know what something is made of, and I would like to add to Sander his lines. I don't have it here, but in Dutch we say a milk carton doesn't grow on a tree. Well, I always say a t-shirt doesn't grow on a tree, because we don't know what it's made of, what hands are being used, or who is being asked to make it. And this is a little of an introduction of my talk. So first of all, thank you very much, Islands of Innovation, for having me here. It was really nice because I got all these ideas in Portugal that we were thinking of Islands of Innovation from the start, and now it's really nice to be here also at the end. My name is Eileen Blackmore. My dad's a Welshman, and my mum's a Fryslan. My own background is art, and I'm a software developer. So what I like to do is to make links. I like to link everything. And I'm the founder of House of Design. House of Design was established in 1996, and then it was an internet company, and we had designers from all over the world on an internet website. And I think, summer 2010, we really started to organize all kinds of projects, to set designers in the central, to make them real on stage, to make changes more visible and more tangible. Like all the designs we are wearing, it tells a story. And we're situated in Groningen, now in the pudding fabriek. So we used to be making nice cakes and things. And now I hope a lot of ideas. And we do a lot of projects in the northern part of the Netherlands and also on European base. And, when I talk about design, what is design? Is it only a product? Is it like a coffee machine? Or is it like clothing? Is it design, or is it art, or something in between? Because the role of design has changed. First, it was only practical, and of course we keep the practical stuff, like all these chairs we would like to stash, to put it on the side, but also what is the story that it tells? And also what kind of impact does it have if we design something? What is happening there? All these links, all these little parts are put all together, and I call it a local value chain. This is a model that I've been developing, started in Bulgaria when I was there with Simon Dijksma and some others I see here. When I met somebody who was who was a teacher at an art craft school in Bulgaria, and they knew exactly how trees were growing, how they fall, how you have to make it into sheets, and how to make tables and chairs. And if we think of Bulgaria, a lot of people are leaving the country. Like here we say it's a remote area in the northern part. The Delta area is also kind of remote. On the last few months it seems upside down because a lot of people are trying to move over here. But in Bulgaria it's quite a big problem. And when we went there, and then I thought I had to give a speech also there, and I looked around and I looked at all the window panes and all the doors, and it was all made of plastic. And I thought, okay, you're educating your people to make everything from the wood, from the local resources that you're making, but you're not the one giving them the assignments. So no wonder that people are leaving. So this is a little start of this idea of putting all these stakeholders together. So if we look at the design, where we started, if you design something, you have to make it attractive. Like Sander said, I have this place where is my soil, but you also said my soul. I really liked how you mix these words, like almost like where is your home? And the design can help with that, to feel this link to the region. But also what kind of materials are you using, making this t-shirt that's growing on this tree? Is it local? And if you use it, what is the impact of using this material? Where is it made? Where is it production? Is it from far away, or can you work along with small SMEs in your region? And what happens then if you add them to your stakeholder list? And of course, what do we do with the education? Because in my time, I used to learn sitting behind a sewing machine and making things, but the younger people, they don't know how to make or how to mend. But we need them. We need a lot of smart heads and hands. So how do we educate these people? And of course, if you make something, it has to be sold also. Otherwise, you just make stuff and it's for fun, but you throw it away. So you need to have a market. So what kind of business models do you have? And how can you create a system which is continuing? So how can policymakers be part of this? How can they be a starting client or a launching customer? And how can you work with the different assignments? And how do you work with the tendering? And of course, at the end, what do you do with the product? These chairs, are they possible to put them out, to sort it in different waste streams? Or will it be burned? So what is the end of the product? So this is the complete model, how things are all connected to each other. And also on the outer ring, you can see all the goals that are linked to all the links in the value chain. So what is the impact if you do it more local? You connect different stakeholders, and of course you boost the local economy, especially if you look at the Delta area. What is happening there? What kind of materials are growing there? Can you use it for a maker industry? That's why also the linen, but I will come to that later. And especially if you add people from your region making things and that they can see it, they become proud. It's like, hey, I've been part of this. I've been working on this. And I will tell you more about the flax. You know, the farmers, they were really proud of growing flax, and they said, oh, it's going to be cool. Soon I will see people walking in linen clothes, and it used to grow in my fields. You know, this proud feeling, like, hey, I'm from this Delta region. So how can you connect it? So one of the examples of working with this value chain is the Wat van Waarde. It's the Wat of value. I don't know for how long you will be here, but it would be beautiful to walk to one of the islands that you can do here. That's one of these pictures, because this is what it looks like if you come a little closer than the image Sander showed. I don't know, have you ever been wat walking? Heb je gewat lopen? Okay, we'll do next time. I also do tango, so I'm one of the dancers for you, but also wat walking. Okay, cool. So if we look at the Wadden region, it's a place where, of course, there's a lot of nature, but there is also tourism, but we also need economics to have it going. So this is quite something coming together. So how does this work, and how can we meet each other there? So these are all the partners connected to this project, but I will send it later so you can read it closely. These are all the stakeholders that you saw in the circles. They're coming together. And, oh yeah, I forgot. So what is Wat van Waarde? What is Wat of Value about? It's from plastic soup to veggie soup. Because, of course, we have a lot of plastic. That's why I was also asking, okay, what are you wearing? Is it polyamide? And the jeans are always 5% nylon. And in a way, this is a plastic soup. So every time you wash your jeans, there's always a little bit of plastic going into the ocean or going into the Wadden Sea or surrounding your islands. And a lot of people do not know this. Also, if you have a polyamide or another plastic, yeah, I'm sorry, you're looking at what am I wearing? Yeah, I'm afraid so. So, or you don't wash it anymore, but that's a different problem. Or, of course, it's good to have a look if you can do it bio-based. And why are we doing this change is because now you have a ban on single-use plastics for only a few items. So only the straws, only the little packages that you put your fries in, but there's a lot more needed to make this change. So the first step we do, I'm really happy to see Marcel because he's on our team here, is what can we do with all the plastic waste that we find on our beaches, that we find in our region, because it was not good for the climate. So how can we reuse it to mend the climate? So how can we create climate adaptive products out of it? Because this is something that plastic is really interesting for. So how can we collect rainwater for dry seasons, but also if it's really raining very hard? But also how to green the city against heat stress. We had a little project here in the streets nearby called the B Street, and we were also already experimenting with this. And this is what you see here with the tubes. You can see here, it's connected to the rainwater system, and it collects the rainwater for dry periods. So we can link it to a smart irrigation system so it will water the plants in the area. So how can we create more vertical rainwater collecting systems or even gardens? So this is what we're going to do with the plastic waste. And then we go to the veggie soup. So what kind of bio-based alternatives can we create from the material in our surrounding to create a more circular economy? So we have a look at our local gold, our local resources, what's growing in our region, but also what kind of other material is available. Yeah, because you see the water treatment plant, this is quite weird, but from this you can make a PHA. I have the little cups here that you can create out of the wastewater streams. Yeah, it's a bioplastic, but I will tell that later. Yeah, so what is the material growing already to use in our region? One of them is the flax. Like Jan already asked me, okay, what are you wearing? Okay, I'm really into flax today. What can you do with it? Well, for the farmers, it's really interesting because it's a rotating crop, so you can really rotate it so you have more biodiversity in your region. It's a real soil improver because you have to pull it with a root out of the soil, so you really get a nice fresh soil for all the insects. And of course, you can make linen textiles. You can also use it for biocomposites. You can use the oil also for linseed or for flooring. So it's really interesting material, also for insulation. We're working on it now for the building construction. And how do we do this? Because in the northern part of the Netherlands, we don't have any spinners, we don't have any weavers, we don't have these smart hands yet. So we have to educate it first, and we have to create machines to do all this. But we want to have the market ready also. So we do two lines at the same time. So first we buy European flax, yeah, like the textiles, to make the first product, to work with the designers to make it really aesthetic, like, okay, this is about the region that really everybody wants to have it, to make a real must-have. And in the meantime, we're setting up the production area. So, okay, well, how do we harvest it? How do we root it? How do we skiff it? We have all these steps before it is a thread, because we have to spin it. I don't know who of you does spinning with wool, because it's always greasy, it's very easy to do. But if you spin with flax, you need a little moist, so you cannot use the normal spinning machine. So there's quite some knowledge needed before you have a piece of linen. But because we do this at the same time, first we have the flax that we buy to make products, to have the market ready, and then on the other hand, we're creating the production, so if it's ready after 3 years together, then we can really make a big step. So these are the steps we're taking. This year we had 2 hectares, and we will grow until 50. And here you see the flax pulling by hand, so this was a nice romantic moment, and it was good for our backs, so don't do it too often. And here we have an example. No, Sander, I think you have one, and Tjeerd has one. This is how we started with flax. Because everybody said, okay, flax, it's old-fashioned. Why do we need this? And I was telling, okay, this is really interesting for a bio-based economy. And how can we create a circular icon, a real item that tells a story of what is circular? Because we read all things about circular, but we don't really have a clear example. This was 2017 when we started. So we created a sweater and a vest, which we call the Fryslan sweater. And it's made of recycled wool and flax. So we linked the 2 fibers together to one thread, and we made one sweater. And as you see, perhaps, yeah, I can show it later. You see the lines, and it is inspired of the Frisian heritage, but also how the flax is standing on the field. So this makes it really into a regional product. And so this is usually how we work with the designers, to make something like, okay, this is about us, this is our pride. And this is also what we want to do now. So we're going to create a bio-based and a biodegradable product. And we're working together with Waddengoud, which do all the regional produce in the area. And they want to have sustainable tourism showcase. And therefore, we work together with them to create a wrapping made of linen, but also for multi-use, but also nice bags for on your bicycle, and also other products, and in the end, also the outdoor coats, which are usually polyester, to see if we can create a water-resistant material from the lignin, which you can contract also from the linen already. So Joram, he's helping us out. And also from a PHA that is made, as you see, with the little cups that I will show you. And why these products? Because we did a research from the Wageningen University, who did a research on the island Griend, and they came with a list of all kinds of materials that they have been found. So a lot was fishermen's gloves, and a lot of other textiles, and of course a lot of packaging from tomatoes or all kind from the crisps. So these items are the ones that we look at to replace as first. This is the other local value chain. This is about PHA. You can make it from a starch from sugar beets, but also from grass and also from the water treatment plants. And how can we create a new product to have as a multi-use? The first product we did was during a North Sea project, and this is the BioCup, and it's made from PHA. You can use it in a dishwasher, and it's also biodegradable, that if it drops in the sea, it will degrade. So how can we create a little container where you can do shopping, and then you don't have any waste anymore? So here you can see the cup. And then the same, we will buy the PHA first to make products, and then in the meantime work together to see how we can create it locally, how we can produce it locally. So a lot of change is needed, and that's why we have this local value chain to work together with all these stakeholders to make this change. And just before summer we had a simmerskwalle, a summer school, and we had all the parties of the value chain together, and it became clear what each role is and how you have to work together to make this change. And I'm really happy to do this, and we notice now that it's working. And also we made quite some mistakes in the beginning, because then you learn. That's what I've been taught in the village where I live, near the Wadden Sea. And I hope we will make more, so we can learn a lot. And we need a lot of knowledge and a lot of smart heads and hands, so please join. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, nice in time.
Yeah, I'm happy.
This
I'm
really
happy.
works,
I'm
you know?
happy, about the schedule. Questions to Eileen? Nobody?
You said you would ask nasty questions.
What was your biggest mistake?
Getting to know you. No. My biggest one is to think too small. I started with only doing really small projects, and then I thought, there's not really impact. And then I thought, okay, I'm not the smallest anyway, because what's your height?
Okay.
So I thought,
130, 183.
Oh yeah, I'm 87.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have heels, so I thought, okay, I have to be bigger and to see also with the region, and that's why with the Wadden region, it's one closed area to see how we can copy this also in other regions in Europe or even beyond.
Okay. And the way of working you told us about can also be led to a stronger local identity. I think that's also very important. Huh?
Yeah, that's one of the most important almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No questions anymore.
Because I think it's also interesting for the other
Everybody
islands.
is looking at his clothes now from today. Okay.
Okay.
Ali,
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Linda, I'd like to give you the floor.
Yeah.
Change by design of
Yeah,
disaster.
Yes, waarschijnlijk. I'm going to check it. Okay. Thank you so much. I would love to also look back at the two other speakers we just heard. Eileen said we need a lot of smart heads and hands. I fully agree with her, but I also would like to say we also need some people who dare to think differently, who dare to think that something that they have in their heads is not yet there, but they are fully committed to make that work. The entrepreneurs, the ones who are always thinking a step ahead and then hopefully making our society much more greener and much more social. But then also when looking back at the first speaker, he was saying that we need to create a dance floor. Well, maybe the opposite of Eileen, I always like to think really big. So I would like to challenge you, Sander, to say not only a dance floor, but let's make it a whole festival. Because I'm Linda and I'm the director of Innofest, helping innovations to test at festivals. The world around us is constantly changing. An enormous cliché. I know, but nevertheless, I start my speech with it, and I started fully embodying to this, because I think it's super important. Because the way that we deal with a change, most of the time, that's not actually really given. And the choices that lie behind it touch the core of what Islands of Innovation, but also what Innofest does. Whether it comes to climate change, diversity, or tackling the corona pandemic, if we change at all, it usually is really, really, really slow. At Innofest, we want to be open to change, also to the changes that are somehow less convenient, that mess up our plans, and also make us insecure. To embrace these kind of changes is not always easy, as we have seen since the outbreak of COVID-19. As a result of the following pandemic, a lot of our plans ended up in the trash. For example, Welcome to the Village was supposed to open its doors this summer to, for us, 8 innovations who wanted to test their prototypes there. However, very shortly, before it was going to end up its doors, before the opening, it turned out that the festival was cancelled. The festival sector has had, and still has, a lot of uncertainties. However, the protests throughout the Netherlands show that the festival sector is not giving up. A group of smart, passionate, and creative people with vision from the north of the Netherlands, including Simon Thijsma, came up with an idea that festivals are not only a place to relax, to drink a beer, to listen to music. No, it could also be a place where sustainable startups could test their prototypes. By testing in a realistic setting, entrepreneurs obtain crucial feedback in a short time to further develop their products. They collect evidence on their path towards a successful market launch. A brilliant move, I think, because while large companies may have the resources and the networks to roughly test their innovations, for many starting entrepreneurs, this is yet not possible. So we test the prototypes, and we help these starting entrepreneurs to do that. Because assumption is the mother of all, and we learned that making mistakes is so important, but you can only do that if you dare to be vulnerable and dare to see what kind of failures you can make. And how does this look like, testing startups at a festival? I would love to show you this clip.
En het is de hele wereld op een hele kleine schaal, waardoor het perfect testen is.
The Great Wide Open is a fantastic place for us to test because it's our target demographic and there's no better place to test this than in a forward-thinking festival.
We willen graag kijken of het echt werkt ook. Groeit er daadwerkelijk een plantje als je het in de grond stopt?
Ons is het heel mooi dat we hier hebben kunnen testen, omdat dit ook heel erg dichtbij komt bij wat wij in de openbare ruimte tegenkomen.
We moeten zorgen dat de gebruiksgemak, de ervaring super blijft en we blijven dit voortdurend innoveren.
En we willen kijken of festivals hiermee ook leren hoe mensen tegen dat geven aankijken, zodat je misschien daar nog meer mee kan.
The current plan is to adapt and make all the changes that we've learned from the festival. And then we also want to pilot a test with a new prototype somewhere in Africa.
Op dit festival hebben we nu in een paar dagen tijd vele honderden mensen in deze douche gehad. Daarvoor is zo'n festival fantastisch.
Nou, op Oeral willen we graag testen, omdat we dan veel meer locaties hebben op Oeral. Daarmee krijg je veel meer input om te kijken wat er wel goed gaat en wat er niet goed gaat.
Dus op een festival in een tijdelijke situatie kunnen wij eigenlijk exact nabootsen wat wij straks in de werkelijkheid op een vluchtelingenkamp ook tegenkomen. En dat dankzij Innofest.
This is what it is. belangrijkste wat ik wel heb geleerd vandaag is dat mensen het gelukkig heel lekker vinden.
En de snacks lopen echt als een trein. Als de zon schijnt en hier tegenover staat best wel mooie wit biertjes, dus het vliegt eruit.
Forced by the pandemic, of course, we need to do things differently. We need to reinvest and reinvent Innofest. So how did we do it? We came up with an online version of testing, which was called Innofest Test TV. But we also spread our wings and went to different living labs, other sites. For example, Stortemelk, which is a campsite on Vlieland, one of the small little islands up in the north of the Netherlands. So this is actually what's going to be the link of today with the symposium. I'm going to shortly take you to 3 innovations that we've tested on a few of the islands. So let me start with this one. It's a sustainable hot shower. At Into the Great Wide Open in 2019, Hemmels ran a test to see whether its heat recovery module returns the same saving in the real life as it does in the lab. At the Into the Great Wide Open Festival, Hemmels tested its system at the festival campsite. With so many people using the shower, Hemmel was able to verify whether the 60% of energy saving achieved in the lab also held up in real life. They did, so that's actually a good thing. And the added benefits of testing the shower system at a festival campsite was also that it allowed Hemmels to study whether the system would work and would continue to work even if there were enormous amount of dirt. Coming to this part of the test with flying colors as well, the shower system is now ready for its market launch. A second one is Kumasi, an additional source of income for cacao farmers. At the Oerol Festival, Kumasi tested this cacao juice drink. It is made of residual products from the cacao industry, and it gives farmers an opportunity to boost their income. At 2019, at the Oerol Festival, the developers of the drink handed out taster sample to the audience to see whether they liked it or not. Luckily, the people were really enthusiastic, and it's now seen in a lot of stores. But you can also buy it online, and you also see it a lot in cafes, because they really want to be a substitute for example, cola or Fanta. This year, they started with us testing again, and this was actually a project that we also did together with InnoQuarter. It was called Innofest Test TV, and it was again with Oerol, but now online. So 100 people got the drinks of Kumasi at home, and they gave online feedback. And the special thing that we actually found out is when you are online, and probably you all know this, people are much more honest. So the feedback was also much more harsh. And this actually what really, of course, helps the entrepreneurs, because they want to have, of course, the best product, so that you want to buy it again and again and again, so that they can really, really make an impact. And the third example I'm now going to show is the super fast composting of green waste. The eco-creation tested whether festival waste could be processed into usable compost within 24 hours using this composting machine. This test was done together with Lab Vlieland. Eco-creation developed this technology to turn green waste into compost and to convert all the food waste and compostable disposable at this festival. Although this provided many learning points in terms of logistics, the systems helped up well technically. Not only could this be a great innovation for a festival, but I would say also for islands more in general, as transport to an island is quite costly and also has, of course, a negative effect on the footprint. Eco-creation is currently being developed at festival as well as in bigger organizations, for example, as Laplace, which aim is to further scaling up. So we started in 2016, and we now tested 200 cases, and more than 11 festivals already opened our door, and currently and luckily also other living labs have opened the door for us. To further professionalize our support for the startups, we wrote a white paper in which we share our methods with anyone who wants to know more about experimenting or wants to know more about setting up a successful innovation test. The white paper can be downloaded, and it is for free, so if you want to know more, please go to our website to check it out. And this is Fryslan, and maybe some of you know him. He's also one of the people in my team. He's head of the methodology, and he's a Leeuwarden innovator, so I'm really proud to have him in our team. We, as Innofest, are determined to make a positive impact, even greater within these coming years. We want to keep on making a contribution to employment and innovative strength of the region, in the north, but also in the rest of the Netherlands, and maybe also in the rest of Europe, in the world, because we really need to change together. We want to become the validation lab first of the Netherlands, and this increase the success rates of tens, perhaps hundreds of innovations in the years to come. Examples like this one, for example, Greener, who tested with us at the Leeuwarden Festival, Welcome to the Village. They deliver clean mobile battery energy. By using these big batteries they have right here. And that has resulted in a significant reduction in diesel uses at festivals, but also, for example, at construction sites. Our enthusiasm of using living labs to further develop sustainable innovation has been increased and strengthened. The studies concluded by the University of Groningen show that Innofest helped both the entrepreneurs but also the innovation. This increases our innovation of ambition, but also our confidence that we are on the right track. It's up to if it's up to us, we will embark on this adventure together, from festivals to universities, but also from officials to investors. And innovation cannot flourish within a good ecosystem, which was already what Eileen was also showing us. Attention to and investment in a sustainable innovation, I think, is crucial. This is urgently needed because the current IPPP report does not cut corners. Sustainability is the motto, and we need to act quickly, but we need to act together. We are increasing our pace because there are still too many entrepreneurs who, despite their passion of their product, work ethic, and smart brain, do not make it. And there are still plenty of people, plenty of living labs in the Netherlands that are still standing still. How can we pursue our dreams and goals together so that they can come up together and we can reach them faster? Let's excel at what we are strong at and push each other so that we can more easily find one another. Of course, to be honest, this Corona year was really, really, really hard. And I assume that for most of your organization, it also was quite tough. Let therefore the end of 2021 be dominated by 3 R's: resilience, recovery, and reconsideration. A period in we, together, make the change for change. Let's decide that make the choice for change. Partly because we need to, because the world demands it, but above all, because we really, really want it ourselves. We want to be the ones who are making the change. So let's join forces. Thank you.
Linda, very good. The white paper is available, you said?
Yeah.
Of course. That's good. And can you tell me about other international connections? You talked about it, but are they already there or not?
Yeah, so we actually got quite some interest from different countries in Europe, but also from, for example, United States, and also an email from someone in Mexico who also said they wanted to work with us.
Okay, Mexico, okay. That's beyond the Interreg Europe horizon, I think, because it's an interesting country to be. I'm interested.
Not yet Cuba, though.
Okay. Are there any questions? Yeah, please. Oh, yeah.
Yes, so Choco-Proof, that was actually the first name of the Kumasi. So that's the drink that they make out of the cocoa nuts. Out of the nuts where they make chocolate of. And fish-free tuna, that's actually a replacement. It could be a replacement for tuna, so it has nothing to do with the fish at all. So it's made from a vegetable, actually. And we tested them at Oerol Test TV to see if people actually like this. but as it was in that state then, people didn't really like it because it looked really green and it didn't smell good. And because tuna, of course, has this specific smell, and if you want to replace that with only a vegetable something, it's really, really difficult to come close. Yeah.
It didn't taste like tuna.
It didn't taste like tuna, no, but it also didn't taste like anything that you ever tasted, actually.
Okay. Thank you. Any question more? No? Linda, for the moment, thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you so much for the invitation.
You're welcome. May I introduce Marc de la Vieter. He's talking about local energy. I see also Bouwer de Boer in the audience, Bouwer, but you're not in the program today, you know. But of course, very welcome. So I think you're very interesting what Marc is telling us.
I don't know if it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay.
Okay, there is the...
there.
Okay.
I already was missing the presentation. Sorry. All right, thank you very much. Today I want to talk about local energy system integration, especially on islands, and also a little bit on our approach at New Energy Coalition. Next slide, please. Or do I have it? Yeah, you can. Okay. I'm totally used to not to all the Zoom meetings where you're not allowed to do it yourself. As New Energy Coalition, we're a cluster organization. We're located in Groningen, and we have a mission, and that's to generate a significant contribution to the energy transition. We're doing this in two ways. First of all, by fostering research and innovation, and second, by, and that's somewhat of the cavalry that comes behind it, by education from vocational level up to academia level. So trying to be able to replicate everything that has been developed within the research and development. Within New Energy Coalition, especially in research and in innovation, we have two tracks. One of them is the track system integration, about integrating all sorts of systems, and the other one is about green molecules. Both of them, to be honest, are two sides of the same medal, because you need green molecules in order to integrate system and vice versa. A little bit beyond that, we have some focus areas like the North Sea, like the built environment, like hydrogen, green gas, etc. I am, within New Energy Coalition, I am responsible for the theme of system integration, and we're doing this, well, I can transfer this, sorry, I missed this one. Our approach is that we want to make a big impact in the world by doing projects on a local level, but internationally. That sounds a little bit contradictory, but we're doing our activities on islands, in cities, etc., but always in collaboration with foreign countries that are doing the same or learning from us, and in the end, trying to create solutions that are applicable for the full world. I was expecting this slide. This slide is our approach to system integration. What we want to do as New Energy Coalition is to solve the energy puzzle on all different levels. We've selected 3 levels, and with different points that need to take action. The levels that we've differentiated are, first of all, on a local level. A second one is the somewhat in-between level, which is a region level. That can be an island, or that can be an energy island, which does not necessarily have to be a traditional island, but that's something that's geographically bound and all the energy is left on the island. And that's just bigger regions, for example, the North Sea, so the energy highway. In the end, it's all aimed at decarbonizing transport, decarbonizing mobility, and decarbonizing the transport industry and the built environment. We're looking at some things like affordability, those are on the other pillars, like access, like technology development, etc. And we're trying to plot our projects on all of these activities. Islands are, can I go back? Yeah. Islands are in this middle region to lower region. Traditionally, at New Energy Coalition, we have a really strong presence in the lowest regions, which are all about engagement in a neighborhood, etc. And we have a strong presence in the upper region, which is all about international cooperation, North Sea, etc. The reason behind this is that it's relatively straightforward to have a small project, involve some citizens, etc., and do create impact on this lowest level. On the other hand, just looking at the world, getting the big players like GasUnie, etc., involved on big projects internationally is also relatively easy. But this intermediary point is hard to come by because it's somewhat, it's the worst of both worlds. It's getting complicated already, but you don't necessarily already have the big players and the big money involved. So that's why, as New Energy Coalition, we see islands as a really strong possibility to testbed innovations on this middle level without the hassle, because they can provide a really strong testbed for that. Because they have, first of all, specific challenges, more expensive energy, more problems with security of supply of energy. Therefore, if you are to propose an alternative, well, it's almost always that on islands, alternatives, since if they don't rely on traditional big grids, etc., will mature the earliest on islands. The second one is that island communities, since they're closed communities, are more easily to tackle, etc., etc. Well, this is in theory. In practice, well, this is another story. I will get back to that at my conclusions. I see someone laughing. And they are actually also have the right size. You can pilot and you can demonstrate your solutions on an island, and the size is big enough in order to be almost, well, without much changes, be replicated throughout Europe. So it's small enough to demonstrate. It has the big upside, since there are, since if you can do it there, it's not necessary that you can do it already there. So it's a front runner and it's replicable. So therefore, it's a great option. So that's why we've been actively pursuing islands as a target group. Over the years, we've been developing two, and well, since I had to hand in this slide deck yesterday, I totally forgot a third. We're also active in a project, Green Highlands, which is all about creating a hydrogen-related, so based on hydrogen, create an island that's fully decarbonized using that. We're a follower there. But I want to discuss a little bit on the project SMILE that's currently already in the final stages. Well, one of our colleagues at SMILE will give another presentation and I think dig a little bit deeper on the lessons learned, etc. And a project that's currently, well, has been running for roughly a year. That's the Janos project. The project SMILE, I think, has all the aspects in it to tackle the challenges that have been met before. It's a project in which 3 different islands will, with all different aspects and all different challenges, but in the end they're all islands, will tackle things on demand response, smart grids, and the use of storage. And this is the main thing that connects them, because in other things, they are differing, because one of them, for example, Madeira, is a total energy island, so they are already an energy island in itself. On the other hand, for example, on Orkney, you have another regulatory system compared to the others. So that's why it's really good that you can testbed all the different innovations in different locations, and therefore allow for replicability. Because the end idea behind Janos is that we have a certain amount of, that's always the idea. We have a certain amount of technologies that we want to test, First of all, we try to mature the technologies a little bit further in order to be applied on the different demos. And all the demos have their own challenges, and you need to try and make the demos not overlap too much, but also not leave a gap. And that's also a challenge. I can come back there at the conclusions as well. Then you demo them, then you analyze them. Then based on your analysis, you're looking at the different aspects that still prevent you from already implementing. Well, my colleague Philo is currently the manager of trying to convert all the challenges that are currently facing into opportunities and try to replicate the technologies, and that's currently the phase where we are right now. We've looked at the demos, we've looked at the possibilities to solve the challenges, and now all the technologies are ready for replication. And by the way, we've used this approach in Janos in another way as well. A little bit more about, I've already tackled this one a little bit. So Orkney has a specific challenge, which is about energy poverty. Of course, currently really a hot topic, because I think right now all three would be eligible for having a lot of fuel poverty, because it's rising also in cities, etc., because of the rapidly rising fuel prices. So in the end, the islands were really ahead here. And also, there was also a thing mentioned before, islands also tend to have differing demand profiles, especially due to the fact that many of them are touristic. So the specific goal for SOMSO with these three technology is using this technology in a better way, trying to make energy a way of life, and trying to include it into people's life, and to use energy as a selling point for new development. These are the specific activities. I will browse onto that. The specific challenge for Orkney, and that's again the challenge that what we can do with demand response, storage, etc., is to alleviate fuel poverty, but also since if you're not anymore do not have a really good connection to the mainland, if you are just going to install a lot of intermittent power, you will lose part of the power in times where there's enough. There's more power than you will need. So can you store a little bit of that? Can you directly connect that to new sinks, for example, electric vehicles or using a smart grid? The idea behind Madeira is really all about, since it's already a full energy island, you will face more problems since you don't have the backup of a traditional power connection. If you're fully going from a grid, from production that's just there into something that's not always there because it's not, the wind is not blowing for 2 weeks, provides other challenges. So that's the challenge for Madeira. So right now we've come up with all the results, and Philo is creating a nice replication report with the technologies about it. I think it's public, so if anyone is interested, we're more than happy to share it. This is a little bit about the different technologies, a little bit of more elaboration. I won't dig it too deep into this. If you want more info, you can look at our website, Horizon 2020 smile.eu. You can contact me, you can contact Philo, you can contact Hannah. And that is also one of the main goals of such a project, to also share the word about all the results and what we can learn from it. The second project I want to talk a little bit is about Janos. Janos is a project that has 2 lighthouse cities. One of them, pretty close by, Ameland. The other one, Terceira, on the Azores. And there are already, and I think that's also a new approach, there are 3 followers being mentioned. Those are locations that are already trying to replicate the technology is developed and piloted on the islands. Just going back a little bit to what my first remark, you're trying to create a demo, then trying to look why it's not there by looking at political, by the pastel analysis of political, economic, social, technical, ecological, and legal aspects, and then trying to replicate. And the good thing about having these followers is that they are somewhat of pushing you to make it replicable, because it's their goal. So that's somewhat of a, stok achter de deur in Dutch, to actually reach maturity as soon as possible. In order to make this more concrete, in Janos we have divided all the different aspects into 3 transition tracks. The first one is about creating an energy efficient grid. The second one is about creating solutions for the people, actually. Because no one cares about a grid, no one cares about gas, no one cares about hydrogen, even New Energy Coalition. Everyone just wants services. They want a warm house, they want a hot shower, they want a wash that is, well, washed and dry, etc. So they want travel. So these use cases are all about providing people with services and comfort, etc., in a sustainable way. Not necessarily, and the grids, so all the first transition tracks are, well, just supporting to that. A third one is about citizen empowerment. So we specifically made this into a separate transition track in order to make that to make that work. What we've done is we've created different use cases. This is a short demonstration, a short overview of the Ameland demo and all the use cases. So the idea behind the Ameland case is that we've installed a lot of assets there. First of all, the assets that are already there, and that's always a good thing. If you already have something, it's much easier to include it into a project than when you have to develop it. Then build some strategic assets in between, and then use the different. Yeah, it's an old slide. I forgot to take off the. To take off the. So the different use cases are just the amalgamation, and some of the assets are in a different use case. So, for example, this one is about how can you use all the energy that you produce yourself, and that you can get some solutions for that. We are using some of the assets for that. The second one is about how can we. First of all, the first one is about having the energy when you need it. The second is having a grid that is stable and operational when you need it. Because traditionally, if you just have a power plant, it can do both. But that's not necessarily the case with a battery and a solar farm, for example. So this is a use case. These are the use cases number 2. The other one is about storage. How can we create a sink for longer periods? So for some, you can use the same assets, but you need other control algorithms for them. You can also optimize the power quality, which is related to the third one. These ones are all about the second transition track, decarbonizing transport, decarbonizing your big industry, because, well, you have a big industry and it's there, then at least try to make them as sustainable as possible. Yeah, there is this non-platform, it's just there, and please try to do something and even use it in your advantage. We're currently looking at solutions for that one. This one is about using all the different waste streams on the islands, which are currently seen as something that has a negative value, but if you need to transport it from the island and then import in energy back into the island, it's not the best option. If you're able to cut corners there and use everything on the island, you can create value, and then you have a specific added value on an island. This is about heating networks, and the final one, that's not even there anymore. I forgot it. It's all about the citizen engagement in a separate transition track. Overall, everything can be viewed on Janos. If you have more information, you can, well, I think there are even some people who are involved in the project, but you can also contact me. This project is currently running. The first results are currently pouring in, and we're trying to bring them through this whole system where we try to make them from a good demonstration into a replicable product. Final one, what have we learned from all of this? Well, first is prepare well in advance. In order to create this great storyline and in order to make impact on such an island, all of these use cases were not just randomly chosen. They are a coherent design by which you, with the least investment, you can get the most rewards out of it. The second one is please don't start with a tender that's coming up and then try to develop something. Just put it on the shelf, and then when time arises, try to take it off the shelf and tailor it a little bit. Both of the ideas were already a little bit on the shelf before the tender was there, especially in the Ameland case. I think we've been looking at it for 4 years. Look at early permitting. I think if you look at some of the challenges at Smile and also now at Janos, be well aware when you start a project, already think ahead what will happen in 2 years. Because even though it's all innovation and new, etc., there are some rules that you need to abide. And the final one, and that's always a big challenge, in order to make impact, try to mix locations, styles, roles, types of people, etc. Because since we have a really diverse population, but we have an even more diverse population in the entire world, if you already are able to include that within your project, the chances of you creating a replicable approach and really make your impact are much higher. And I think that is one of the most important aspects if you want to not only reach the goals of your project, but create an impact in order to create this decarbonized world. Thank you.
Marc, very much in a short time.
Yeah.
Very much in a short time. You mentioned Madeira, you mentioned Samso, you mentioned Ameland. Are there any additions to make from the people from Ameland, from Samso, or from Madeira? Luc, no? It was right what he told? Okay, okay. Questions, Marc? Boa?
Will I do a question?
Oh, no.
I was wondering, why didn't I hear so much about the people of Ameland? It's more technical, etc. Can you tell anything more about how is the people? Because I've been a few times on Samso. It's all coming from the people. Now it's less coming from the people, but I guess the people are more involved than you thought. Is that right?
I think that's right. For time constraints, I left out the final transition track. It's actually one of the 3 transition tracks involving the people. There's actually more within the project. The project also has, especially the Janos project. I think it's a good question because I actually missed that in the presentation. The project Smile was, of course, it had the aspects of citizen engagement in it, but as an add-on. In Janos, we're right now trying to actively involve them in all of the different, because citizen engagement is somewhat of a cross-secting work stream or use case or transition track. Sorry, but there's more. But that's only on Ameland. There's also a work package on citizen engagement. And that has its starting point at the 2 demos. So, for example, Johan Kiviet is within the Ameland ecosystem responsible for that one, trying to see how we can involve people on a selected number of use cases. Then, together with Hanze University, we're trying to convert this into a toolbox, and then test case this toolbox on the follower island and see whether this works. And then in the end, we hope that we can use this toolbox as one of the key exploitable results of the project. So there's actually a full work package where, by the way, New Energy Coalition is the coordinator of, to make this happen. But it's always a challenge, because in the one way, because your question also really addresses my first remark. If you want something done really fast and really big, you need to do it with big companies, because then you have a low amount of hassle. If you want to do something local, then your scope is smaller, and then it becomes easier. If you want to do something in that middle part, where it's too big to just have everyone support you, but not big enough to get the big dollar rolling, then you have this main challenge. So I think the question you're pointing out is really relevant. It is the main challenge, and I think if I were to point out one of the weakest points of Janos, it would still be that one. So there's also an open invitation to, if we are going for newer projects, a follow-up of Janos, for example. I already have a list of like 20 things that are wrong about Janos. That's definitely on it. Sorry.
Okay. He just got one question. Because Mohamed, very good. Thank you. Very good.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Marc. Thank you, Marc. And they're doing their best, because I know it. I'm living on the island of Ameland. I know. We're on schedule, and we have now a break. And I thought we have a break, and we have also some nice snacks, I would say. But that's not what we're going to do, because we have Stefan Visser. Where is Stefan? No, it's Stefan.
No.